Of course, one of the joys of being on a cruise like this, or should I say a voyage like this, is the beautiful silence. And I hear it's right to highlight the fact that this ship is not run on diesel or fuel, it's electric and gas. Both of them natural resources here in Norway. The electricity from the hydropower down the fjords, which is plugged in at every port, and the gas, which again is becoming a resource that's making this country extremely rich and extremely important to its allies. This Capella is one of 5 ships now Havila own, all of them running on electricity and gas, either low or nil emissions. And the silence of being on board adds to that tranquility just absolutely amplifies the joy of the peace of these beautiful views.
Martin, this was quite an adventure for you. You've been on a cruise ship. I mean, you've sailed with Cunard, so you know what luxury is. Was this still luxury?
It was, Stuart. It's luxury, but it has a different definition behind it. I think looking back to the Cunard, it has all that almost Edwardian, Victorian, wonderful civility about it. Whereas this is, if I may, much more contemporary. This talks to a much possibly younger audience. Certainly there's a lot of exploration behind this. It's the adventure that you're on together, much more than just sitting back and enjoying the experience of cruising. In fact, it was interesting to watch how much time most of the passengers spent on deck watching what's going on. And indeed, part of that is that if I was on Cunard, I've got theatres, cinemas, cocktail parties, casino. There's none of that on board this ship.
So, in fact, what we're saying here is that's an old-fashioned form of entertainment.
It's a form of entertainment that's possibly fit for purpose. I would choose Cunard again. I would enjoy that weekend or week of pure relaxation.
No, we're on Cunard next week and we love it. But this looks to be a different kind of relaxation.
It's been put together very thoughtfully. They are absolutely clear of the sustainability of the world they're in. We've talked already about the fuel of the ship. The food is done in a very similar way. There are no extravagant buffets which are left full to the final moment and then discarded. Everything is done in a very single dish approach. You eat what's required and they prepare for you what's required. Everything on board is done with just enough. It's comfortable, but you feel nothing is there to go to waste.
It's an interesting term, really, just enough, because it stops at so many places, but the time it's there, you could argue, is just enough. I've stopped at a lot of cruise ports where you just go, oh, what, another church? And it's driving you mad. So with these shorter stops, you're seeing the place, but is it just enough, or do you wish you'd stayed longer?
Well, it's a great question. Just enough when it stops for 8, 10, 12 minutes, and some of the stops are short of that. There is an air of, gosh, I wish I could get off and look around this one. They do that cleverly. There's a northbound route where you find it's full of 8-minute stops or very sizable 1 to 1.5 hours. And if you do the southbound, they reverse it, where you stop for a brief time on the way north, you stop for a more considerable time on the way south. So if you can invest a full 2 weeks, then it is just enough. It's a great way of seeing each of these ports separately.
But I did notice that, but I also noticed that some ports are really just postal stops. It's like 8 minutes or 12 minutes on both the up and down. And yet that particular stop, well, I can't remember the name of the one I'm thinking of, but it had like a, not a holiday camp, it's totally the wrong word, but an adventure camp where people went to hike, climb, cycle. So there was a lot there, but the ship never stops there for a length of time.
No.
Could you get off and get on the next ship?
That's a very good point. You can't get off and get on the next ship, but you can get off this ship and you can go and explore and make your way to the next port and rejoin. In fact, many of the excursions worked in that way. You'd get off, the ship would continue its journey, and they would reboard further down the coast.
Sure, that's not unusual with cruise ships. On some longer cruises with Viking and the World Cruises, you can get off as you hit, say, Africa, cross country, do a safari, and rejoin. South Africa's a common port for rejoining, so you can do that on other ships.
But if getting away from the sea air and the breezes is an opportunity, or even sheltering from the deep sunshine of the fjords, then pop in here to the observation deck on the top floor. Its glass roof gives you every part of the experience, as does the bar and 24/7 coffee. It's a comfortable spot to be.
The observation bar is my favourite on any ship, but before we do that, let's do the flag waving and we'll chat again.
And as we approach the Norwegian border, there's a rather charming tradition on board Havila ships that everybody grabs hold of a Norwegian flag in celebration and waves. They come in all sizes. I'm not sure anybody's necessarily checking whether they're holding them the right way up. And I'm not sure how many flags are lost on a windier day than today, but obviously it's a moment that particularly the Norwegians on board hold very dear. And as the borderline approaches, marked by the bridge ahead, the excitement is certainly rising. And the moment is coming, I gather, when the coach reaches the top of the bridge, welcoming the boat into Norway. Our boat will send some sort of signal, and indeed the bus then, I believe, beeps to mark the fact that we're crossing over into the territory. It's got to reach the central span, and that is, as I understand, the celebrations then truly begin. What an exciting... Once again, remember, all of this is being done without one drop of alcohol. What a remarkable race of people. And this is the Hildering restaurant. Exclusive breakfast and lunch for the suite customers, but in the evening available as a tasting menu for all to book.
So the tasting menu is always quite special on any ship. Was it brilliant?
Yeah, I think it was. It came with all that wonderful occasion sense of it.
Yeah.
So you really did feel like you'd had a really enjoyable evening. Beautifully done, and a small surcharge.
Yeah, I always think that if you're on holiday, you should treat yourself. And for me, one night in a restaurant certainly doesn't hurt.
Well, I think for all of the food on board, I would give it a big piece of applause. Again, as we said earlier, Stuart, mainly on its sustainability. Very carefully done, minimal to no waste.
And later tonight, this evening, we'll reach Rørvik. Yeah, as you can see, there are no stops between Rørvik and Trondheim. So tomorrow morning we have a stay in Trondheim from 7:30.
Each of the suites is beautifully comfortable and really generous in its space. And of course, the pièce de résistance is through the lounge. You're able to step onto your own, on days like today, sun-soaked balcony, with all the views that it can offer. But of course, the joy of the suites is you have the privacy of a sitting room with your own coffee and bar. But it also then takes you into your own double bed area. And that clever television, just as they do on the penthouse suites in Cunard, spins round so that you carry the television beautifully into your bedroom for that late night movie or early morning snooze. The bathroom and shower suite, again giving you all that you need to be fresh each and every morning as a new day begins in the comfort of these beautiful suites on board Havila, with those guaranteed gorgeous sunny outlooks through the panoramic windows.
This really is quite special, Martin, because it gives cruisers like me who've never done this kind of cruise a huge insight into another side of cruising, which is fantastic.
And as the doors open, those involved in the excursions can quickly step ashore into the waiting coaches or small RIB vessels. If it's lunchtime, there's a packed lunch. If you're away for dinner, that can be fixed too. And of course, as the boat is stopping every couple of hours, if it's a longer excursion, you'll pick up the boat a little bit later. The Havila coffee shop is open 24/7, welcoming guests for snacks if you want to miss the major meals, or a quick coffee catch-up during the day. But with the wall-to-ceiling windows on the Capella, you're never far away from those beautiful views. And right at the centre, the heart of the Havila Capella, as it is on its sister ships, is the electric and gas motors. Low to nil emissions. You hardly hear the engines. All you feel is the tranquility of the beautiful fjords. Some of the fjords are on heritage sites and again have permission because of the low emissions for the voyagers to enter. Tucking the bow closely into the edge, the turn begins. The turn is timed to take 4 minutes, 23 seconds, so it says on the bridge. And with that, the Capella will be turned and ready to resume its journey back through that narrow channel, with meters to spare on either side. The space between the bridge and the cliff edge is now centimeters as we nudge along slowly along the side wall of the Troll Fjord. There's a very careful eye on the bridge to keep this absolutely central to that opening passage.
So the first time I did this, I had a real Spartacus moment. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Historic, old films, whatever, Vikings. What did you feel as you went through there?
Well, firstly, I felt privileged. The size of the boat to the size of the space, wonderful. You know, looking back over the last 6 days, it's lovely just to summarize all that you feel at the end of one of these experiences. When we came on board, we thought maybe we were joining a cruise, but you know, we weren't joining a cruise. We were joining what Havila call a voyage, and I like that much more, the word voyage. It's sort of flirting with expedition, which is what this is. It's an expedition because of the dexterity and size of these vessels, their agility. They're able to enter and exit all the fjords that the other cruise ships couldn't reach. Firstly, because of their size, but secondly, because of the clean LNG gas and electric power of these vessels, which makes them low or nil emission. They have permission to enter some of the heritage sites here in Norway that the dirtier fuel vessels wouldn't be invited to. And it's the intimacy of this which I think has been so enjoyable. I know that on the larger cruise ships you can enjoy the casino or the end of the pier variety show, and none of that's available here. But there's plenty of presentations about the expeditions you can take, the harbours and towns and islands we're about to visit. Yeah, all in all, it's really comfortable. And comfort is key here on Havila voyages. The suites are delicious. The food, particularly the tasting menu in the Hildering restaurant, is remarkable. There's fresh ingredients come on board at every island harbour where you stop. So it's an expedition, it's a voyage, and it's a piece of therapy. The last 6 days, blessed with this remarkable Nordic sunshine, have been just beautiful, just remarkable, and just joy to be on here. So would I recommend it? Yeah, if this is exactly what you're looking for, the peace, the quiet, and the tranquility of visiting some of the most beautiful scenery in the world, yeah, come on this, come and see for yourself.
And did Linda like it?
Yeah, she loved it. And it was fascinating because cruising wasn't her first choice. But this, whatever we want to call this exploration on the water, she loved it.
Thank you very much, Martin.